Hi, ladies. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our interview with Angelica Lopez, who is a former FBI agent. Angelica, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the girls?
Hi everybody. My name is Angelica Lopez, and I currently own my own company. It's called Adavar Investigative Group, and I'm the chief operating officer and also chief interrogation officer. And so, what that means is that we work with national security. So, what that means is that we offer our services to Department of Defense, Department of Justice, and anything that falls under national security, which will be um, really criminal activity, human trafficking, drug dealing, anything under the sun that would pose any threat to national security.
Wow, that is incredible. So how did you get into having even thinking about having a company that does this? How did that happen?
So I originally started in the FBI, obviously, and I went in when I was 23 years old. And when I was 15 years old, I grew up in a very rough neighborhood in Chicago, the west side of Chicago, lots of drug activity, lots of gang activity, lots of violence. And I went to a high school that was predominantly Hispanic, and there was a lot of violence there. Fortunately, I was very much involved with sports and activities, and I just stayed away from all that. But unfortunately, when I was 15, my one of my friends was murdered and decapitated and dismembered, and obviously was drug related. She was a bystander at the wrong place at the wrong time, and her murder ended up being one of the most gruesome activity that Chicago has ever seen. And so, being 15, that definitely scarred me and left me feeling very angry, very uncertain. And so, when that happened, I knew that I wanted a career in federal investigations. I wanted to know why people do the things that they do and what causes them to do such heinous acts. So, I went to college and I majored in forensic psychology. At the time, this was a long time ago, forensic psychology had just entered into the educational world. It was very new. This was in 2000. It was very new. People didn't really know about it. Now it's extremely mainstream. It's wonderful. There's a lot of schools who have the program now. But at the time, the school that I went to was one of the only schools that actually offered the degree. And so that was University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. And so I had a double major. I majored in chemistry and I majored in forensic psychology. And after I graduated college, I went to go work for Cook County, which is practically the biggest county in Chicago. And to my surprise, my first internship was with the judge who had done my friend's case and had sent him to death. So he got the death penalty. And when in 2006, so I graduated college in 2004. In 2006, the governor abolished the death penalty in the state of Illinois. So he still sits on death row. So he's in jail for the rest of his life. But the interesting part was when I walked into the doors, Judge Lampkin was who I was going to be working with, who ended up being the judge that that had the trial. And it was interesting because I was now 21 years old, and when he was charged with, or he was sentenced to the death penalty, I was only 15 at the time. So it was like very full circle. So anyway, once I turned 23, because you have to be 23 years old to apply to the FBI, then I went ahead and applied and got in.
Wow, that's very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. So, um, one of the questions that I have was, you said that you were a double major and you did chemistry and that. So why was the chemistry along with the forensic psychology?
So the chemistry originally came from the idea that I was going to be a psychiatrist. And in order to be a psychiatrist, you have to go to med school. To go to med school, you have to be a major in a science. And so chemistry just seemed really the most interesting for me, other than biology and microbiology or any other science. And so I wanted to have that double major just in case the government side, investigation side didn't pan out. I had a second, a plan B, and that would be that I would go to med school and become a psychiatrist and still get the opportunity to work with people who had mental illness in the criminal side of it. So yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And that's an interesting way to think about college, as well as like having like that double major kind of thing. Is like you've got your, this is what I'm going for, but here's my backup plan, almost kind of thing. So that's a
Right.
really good
Yeah.
kind of thing to think about. So what also, you said that you can't apply for the FBI until you're 23.
Yeah.
So in that time, what other requirements are there for someone who would be considering a career in the FBI?
So interestingly enough, they've throughout the years they've changed the requirements. Obviously, 23 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen, hold a valid driver's license. But recently, there's been a change that also says that you have to have at least 2 years of professional experience. So if you think about it, if you were to go from high school straight to college, the average age of graduation would, and you did 4 years, you would be about 21 years old, which gives you those 2 years of experience that you can then go ahead and complete. One of the things that I really want to stress is that it's highly, highly competitive. And when I say highly competitive, the applications that are seen, we're talking about over 200,000 applications yearly. And you forget about having a higher 3.5 GPA. You have to have a 4.0 GPA. You have to stand out. And when I say stand out, it means what extracurricular activities did you do? What volunteer service did you do? What internships that you do to stand out in your application? Your application has to look immaculate, has to have all types of bells and whistles on it, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for highly, highly skilled, highly versatile individuals who really stand out on paper. So, mhm.
So you were mentioning too about like you mentioned some of the things that they need to do for while they're in college, making their resume or their application stand out. And you mentioned some internships. So what would be some good internships that they would need to seek out?
Okay, that's a great question. So something that I did, I actually did a couple of things while I was in college. So I became a crisis worker, um, and that kind of just showed. And what that is was, like a crisis worker on a hotline where you get training and you sit at night in front of a phone and you wait for somebody to call with a crisis. And most of the time, it's like a suicidal crisis or um, really mental illness type stuff. Um, and so I did that. I did that for 3 years. I was a crisis worker. It was really interesting because I would work the night shift.
Mhm.
And so I would get a page, and back then we had pagers, and so I would get a page, and then I would call into the hotline, and there would be somebody waiting there to speak to me. So I did that. I felt that really helped bring out my resume, because being a crisis worker is definitely difficult. The other thing, and I think this is probably the best one that I did, was I went to the local police office and I just said, I just want to follow the detectives around. I just want, and I did it for free. I did it for 2 years, and I got to see all types of things and bodies and shootings and all types of stuff. I did it for free, but I want girls to understand that even if you did do a paid internship, the value and the experience that comes with it is invaluable.
Hmm.
And I have to tell you this, the first time that I saw a crime scene, I literally ran out the front door and I threw up. And I remember the detective saying to me, this happens to everybody. And then after the first time, it goes away and you just become almost numb to it. You become desensitized. And sure enough, it did. I've probably seen maybe over 100 crime scenes. And, it sounds crazy, but now it's just kind of like, okay, on to the next.
Yeah.
And so I think that that really made my resume stick out was that I did an internship. It was a free internship with the homicide unit of the Urbana Police. And I got to just, see all types of stuff. I got to see evidence and I got to look at, the detectives' work and how they did interrogations. And I think that that was invaluable for sure.
Absolutely. There are, while it's nice to have that paycheck when you're in college, having to pay for school and your books and everything like that, there are some things that are going to, and it's experience that's going to actually take you farther in life a lot of times than that immediate paycheck. So absolutely.
Right.
So then the next related question that I had to that, is that you said, so then after, you graduate, you're right around 21. So that gives you those 2 years to get that professional. So then if they are, so what would be the kind of professional jobs that would help that application stand out?
So, really, it would have to be something that you're interested in doing. So obviously in the FBI, there's different branches of it. So you have cyber security, you have criminal investigations, there's human trafficking. And so whatever branch that you're looking into getting into, I would suggest would be trying to get something around that. So if you wanted to work with cybersecurity, I would try to get an internship with a big cyber tech firm or even forensic accounting, anything around the field that you're interested in doing. If it's criminal investigations, obviously you would go the route of, the police offices, the county sheriffs, even working at a jail, things like that that will expose you to whatever branch that you're trying to get into. But on the upside too, not necessarily does it have to be related. It's always better if it's experience related. But if it's not, experience is experience.
Mhm.
But because the application process is so grueling, it's in the best interest of the applicant to do something that's closely related to what you're going to be doing or you're interested in doing. But another option that's very limited and very difficult obviously to get into is the every single government agency also offers internships for college students.
Mhm.
Now these internships are all posted on www.usajobs.gov. And on this website, the DEA, the FBI, even the CIA, U.S. Marshals will post different internship opportunities, and these are paid opportunities, and they're also very, very difficult to get into, but it's also worth a try.
Yeah.
And I want to say 80% of the kids that get into an internship will get hired on with the company or with the agency. So something to keep in mind.
Nice. That's very, very good information. And we'll be sure to have that link down below the video as well. So in case they didn't get a chance to get that. So we spent a lot of time talking about like your career within the FBI, but you've got your business now that you're doing. And so what has been within that, what's been the biggest thing that you've kind of struggled with that, and how have you handled that?
Okay. So I think in the field that I'm in, being a woman, especially a minority, has been very difficult. The field that I'm in is a male dominant branch of work, and there's not very many women. In fact, there's not many women that look like me that are Hispanic with immigrant parents. And when I first got into this type of work, there was definitely was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of hate, and um, for better words, I would say just not very much support for women. Um, and so when I branched off into starting my own company, I had to tell myself I had the experience, I had the knowledge, and I had the capabilities to start my own company. And it didn't matter what anybody thought or anybody said, um, that would stop me. And I think being in a male dominant work atmosphere kind of gave me the strength to be able to start my own company. And surprisingly enough, I uh, did really well. And so my company has government contracts now. And so what I do is all my work is government contract. And so what's really great about owning my own company is that I get to say how much work I do, what type of work I do, and when I want to work and when I don't want to work. And so if I want to take a month off and not work, I am able to do that. And I have to say that that's probably been the biggest reward of having my own investigative company, that I get to call the shots and I get to say what goes and what doesn't go. And I'm not really part of a big entity. And I get to do the same work that I was doing, but now the work is just more specialized, and really it's handpicked because I get to pick the work that I want to do.
And that's amazing to have that opportunity
Yeah.
to be able to do that, to be able to pick the jobs that you want to do and that kind of thing. And did you find when you were, because you talked about the struggle of being not only a woman in that career, but then being a Hispanic woman in that career, and the struggles that you had, did you have any kind of um, male allies with that, that kind of helped you out,
Yeah.
or no, don't
Yeah.
expect that?
Yeah, so when I moved, so I got transferred so I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised. Whenever you start working federal, they don't let you stay and they transfer you a lot. So that's another thing to consider, is that they transfer you a lot, you move around a lot, your duty stations change every 4 years. And so in 2008, I was transferred to Houston, and I started working in Houston, and I had a gentleman who really took me under his wing and taught me everything, and really good friend of mine now. He's in IT now. And I remember him telling me, he said it's going to be difficult. There's a lot of males that don't like seeing women in power. And really, in to really explain it, it's just insecurity. A lot of people that don't like to see women in power are just insecure, and they're just not comfortable with that. And I think that we are in a day and age where women are CEOs and owning companies, and running for president. Um, and so we just have to keep in mind that it's still very much alive, and discrimination towards women in power is very much there, and it's probably never going to go away, and we just have to be strong and stay up to our standards, which is nothing but incredible. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that's really important for the girls to hear, is that number one, having that confidence in yourself. So if you're going out into a field that happens to be male dominated, or even if you're not, you're going to encounter someone who is not going to believe in you, or is going to kind of give you this look like, who are you? It's kind of like having that confidence in yourself and realizing that their reaction is more about them than it is about you. I
Right.
think really, honestly, and truly, once I got comfortable in realizing that, that's when I was able to let go of when I was facing that. It's like, this isn't about me. This is about you. I
Right.
can't control you. Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Just keep on going, So that is That's definitely something for young ladies to keep in mind. Um, so how is all of this career path, both like you starting your own company, but also like being in the FBI, how was that, how has this been different than you thought it was going to be?
Um, that's a great question. So one of the things that I always like to tell people that are wanting to get into this career is I I knew that it was going to be difficult, um, but I feel like the television and the movies glamorize this type of career
Mhm.
and make it seem like it's easy and fun and exciting. And yeah, there is fun and excitement in it, but it's also highly dangerous and requires so much out of you. I mean, you sometimes you're working more than 80 hours, and I think back when I was in high school, there really wasn't that many FBI shows and Criminal Minds and all this blacklist stuff going around. Um, and so I really wasn't um what's the word I'm looking for? I really wasn't looking for something that would mold the career that way. But as I started to go on in the career and start to see that people in this type of job do it for a greater cause, and there was something that happened to them down the line that gave them the passion and the drive to really do it. And it's a rewarding career. It's a wonderful career, and you learn so much about the job, but also yourself. But definitely don't let TV and movies influence your career path. Would probably be the biggest takeaway from it. Um, but I think it's led me to grow as an individual, especially a woman, minority woman. I've become very mentally strong and very tough skin, and I've kind of learned to relax a little bit more and not really have that armor on all the time of everybody's out to get me type of feeling. um, but I think the knowledge and the experience that I gained has really molded me into the CEO that I've become now. And I think being around people who are very supportive and just want the best for you has been the best thing for me. And I think that that's very important, to just surround yourself with positive people that want just the best for you.
She's walking her way back.
Okay.
So, so in just a second, I'll do like the wrap up, and then we'll do the interview, the advice question,
Nice. Yeah.
whatever. So that's the beauty of being able to edit things.
Right.
Instead of doing everything live. I know I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do the keynote speaker and the panel discussion live
Oh, okay.
when I've got little ladies with walkers going.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so let me see here. All right, so thank you so much, Angelica, for the great interview. Ladies, be sure to scroll down the page to see the rest of her written portion of her interview. And then below that is the comment section where you can be sure to leave her any comments or questions. I'll be sure to get her the questions, and she'll pop back in and answer those questions for you guys. So until then, you guys have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.